Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday gardening question and answer video that I have been doing for a while now. At the end of this video, I actually have, I will announce the winners for the four $50 gift cards from plantsbymail.com. I did a video, I think last Saturday, that was announcing that giveaway. There were a crazy amount of comments on the video on YouTube and on Instagram to pick from. So I really enjoyed reading everybody's comments on where you like to shop for plants. That was really very interesting. I think I'll do those kinds of things in the future. Just throw out, so the comments are more interesting and everybody can kind of read through and maybe find garden center in their area if you go back and look through those comments that you may not know exist in your area. So that was like I said, that was really fun to read all those comments. I thank everyone for participating. At the end of this video, I'll announce the four winners, and I'll show you how I do the drawing to determine the winners. Next Sunday will be the Subscriber Sunday video, where subscribers send in photos that I include once a month on the first Sunday of every month. If you're interested in sending in photos for that, here is the email address right here. Anything in your yard that you're proud of, just include in the title of the email subscriber photos or something like that, so I can differentiate those from other emails that I receive on the channel. Friday, I was at Dearness Gardens in Huntersville, North Carolina. It's very close to Charlotte. I really enjoyed being there. Great garden center, great employees at that garden center. It was a Friday at 10 a.m. event, and I didn't think, I didn't even know if anybody would show up. And sure enough, people showed up, and it was a great session. I went through some plants and then did question and answer for a long time, and there were great questions from that group. So thank you very much for coming out on Friday to that. And then yesterday morning, I was at Logan's Trading Company in Raleigh, and a good crowd there. Beautiful garden center. I've always liked that place. It was I worked at a garden center in Raleigh when I was a teenager called Rake and Hoe, that was a competitor to Logan's. Logan's has been around for a long time, and really nice place. It's near downtown Raleigh, and it's an old train station. And while I was talking, a train pulled up behind me, and it was very distracting. So it was a very interesting event, trying to concentrate on going through plants and answering questions and being loud enough for people to hear me while literally a train was sitting behind me. So that was interesting. So thank you very much for coming out. But then after after the event, the train had pulled away and people stuck around for a while, and I answered questions for a while, and I enjoyed meeting everyone. Thank you very much for coming out. This next Friday, I'm at Wingard's in Lexington, South Carolina. I look forward to seeing their place and being part of an event there. And then on Saturday, I am at the Family Tree in Snellville, Georgia, which is close to Atlanta. So I hope to see you folks come out for those. Wingard's is at 11 on Friday, 11 a.m. on Friday. And the Family Tree is at 10 a.m. on Saturday. So again, thanks everybody for coming out the last couple days, and I look forward to the next two events this coming weekend. Okay, so to get to some questions, and then we'll do the giveaway at the end of the video. Somebody asked me about using humic acid and the benefits and what is it. I don't know that I have a full understanding of what humic acid is. I know it's organic compounds that are in humus. Humus is kind of the last stage of the composting process, where you get down to just pure organic material. I'm going to be using some humus in a video, a bagged product, in a video toward the end of October at the new place. Humic acids, like I say, are organic compounds that are taken from that I know in studies have shown to increase root development in plants and that kind of thing. And I've seen a couple of YouTube videos with people spraying it on their lawns and that kind of thing. And I don't know that it's necessary in your suburban landscape to go get humic acid and spray it in your yard. I know it binds to roots and allows for the uptake of nutrients easier. So would there be benefits? Probably, but probably negligible in your, like I say, in your suburban landscape. It's probably going to be very beneficial though for farmers that may be dealing with depleted soils or soils that have been eroded and poorly managed for a long time. That's probably the folks that probably should be using something like humic acid. Somebody asked me about buying, they were going to start a pomegranate orchard, and we're thinking about buying like 10 plants, and then they were going to propagate them. And if that was the most economical way, it's just about like 10 plants and then try to root them and go from there. Yes, that's definitely the most economical way. I might consider ending up buying them all after you buy the 10, but I would just buy 10 period. If this is new to you, and this would be true, I'm going to open this answer up to more people here. If you're questioning whether a plant's going to work for you or whether or not you're going to be able to do something in the landscape, you can always buy a small number of them. Let's say you needed 50 pieces to create a screen between you and a neighbor, you don't have to go buy 50 pieces. You can go buy 2 or 3 pieces and let them grow for a year, make sure they're going to perform well in that space, make sure they're going to do what you think they are going to do. Maybe you don't know whether how shady it is or how sunny it is because you're not there all the time, or it's a new place to you. This is probably a good answer for everybody to try something out first. So I'm less concerned about how much money it's going to cost you with the pomegranates, but if it's a new thing to you, I just buy 10 plants period and make sure that you can actually do it, make sure it's works in your soil, make sure they're performing well, and then yes, you can take cuttings from them or go back and buy more at that point. But I think that's a good answer for everybody. Somebody asked me about planting after removing a tree. They had a tree ground out and whether or not they can go ahead and plant. I think you can go ahead and plant. I think your biggest issue will be whether that tree actually got ground out well. Stump grinders make big piles of material, and they make you think that it's all gone, but after you remove some of that material, there may in fact be some chunky material still there, and you may have a hard time digging in that space for a little while longer. I had an oak removed over here on the other side of this driveway, and despite the best efforts with a stump grinder, there's definitely still big chunks over there, and it's still hard to plant over there. So it's not whether or not you can plant over there, it's more can you plant over there. Somebody asked me about going ahead and refrigerating their bulbs, because I've done a lot of bulb videos the last 2 years. This fall I'm not, because I'm in this move transition, so you're not seeing any bulb videos that you normally would see from me right now. But yeah, I get my bulb, if I got my tulip bulbs in right now, I would definitely be putting them directly in the refrigerator. For those of you who don't know, in the South, we don't get enough cold weather for some of the bulbs to actually come up and bloom well. And so we refrigerate them for a while, and then we put them in the ground. So they make sure we're cold treating them and kind of faking them being in zone 5 or 6 rather than down here in 7, 8, or 9. Make sure it's a bulb that needs to be cold treated. Daffodils don't need to be cold treated, as an example. Those can just be put in a dry place on a shelf somewhere that has some good air movement around them. Make sure you don't ever have them in a plastic bag. It's very important with bulbs. You'll go to Lowe's or Depot or Garden Center or wherever you buy your bulbs, they put them in a plastic bag, you carry them home, you put them on a shelf. You're waiting to plant them, and they will rot inside of a plastic bag. Make sure you pull them. Keep the bag that they came in will have holes in it. There's a reason for that. They need to, there's water, there's moisture inside of those bulbs, and if that moisture builds up in a bag, it'll rot them. Okay, let's see. Somebody asked about watering in the winter time, newly planted things. That's something you're just going to have to check. In my area, typically, I don't have to water in the southeast United States. This question was actually from Washington State. But in the southeast United States, we're dry right now, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but typically by about mid-November, our fall is our dry season, and then by mid-November, we start to rain again. And when that comes back around, I typically stop watering. I don't have to do any, but I am paying attention to it. I don't know where you are in Washington. It's something you just have to check. When I water very, very thoroughly, and then I try to let things dry out in between. And obviously in the winter, that's going to take longer. I hope to not have to do any watering in the winter, but I will water in the winter because it's an insulator. And so if it's dry and I'm coming up on a really cold period, I will water, like I say, to kind of help insulate the plants some from the coming cold. But like I say, that totally depends on where you are, but you just need to check them. Go near a plant and stick your finger down an inch or inch and a half down into the soil and see if it's dry. And if it is, really, really saturate them well, and then try to back away. That's always the way I want you to try to water. While I'm on watering, I'll go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is large parts of the southeast United States and maybe more area, I don't know. We're near drought conditions. The only reason that I got any rain here in the Raleigh and east areas because we had Hurricane Dorian come by, and we had a couple inches from that. Other than that, it hasn't rained since the middle of August. and there's no rain in the forecast for a very long period of time. I addressed this at the 2 talks I had the other day, that things probably need to be watered at this point. I watered this morning. I got up, I've been watering since the sun first started to come up this morning at the old house here, just kind of deep watering everything. I don't have to water a whole lot, especially things that have been in the ground for a while, but I'm kind of going and watering everything because we're going to go another month here. And then the second question comes up, well, what would you continue to plant because fall is a good time to plant? Yeah, I absolutely would. I would still plant anyway. I know this is going to break at some point by October or November, and it's no big deal. I'll water them every few days after I put them in the ground. If they have any new growth on them, I will typically tip prune them a little bit, just to the new growth is what's using all the water. So if I bought a plant right this minute and it was covered in new growth because it's still quite warm, it's over 90 degrees every day and we're almost October, I prune them just a little bit, and that stops them from using so much water. I put them in the ground, I water them in, and then, again, I know I'm going to have to water for the next 3 or 4 weeks, just looking at the forecast. Okay, somebody asked about overwintering a hibiscus in their garage, and I'm assuming they're meaning a tropical hibiscus. There's lots of different kinds of hibiscus. There's hardy hibiscus that grow all the way to Canada, and then there's a lot of things in that family of plants, in that mallow family, but the tropical hibiscus is the one I'm guessing they're asking about, and I don't know if a garage is going to be warm enough, and they probably need light. They're not deciduous plants. The tropical hibiscus aren't deciduous. Some of the other hibiscus are herbaceous, meaning they die to the ground. Some of them are woody shrubs that are quite cold hardy and they lose their leaves in the winter. And then there's tropical hibiscus, which actually keep their leaves, and that probably needs to be treated as a house plant. If you have a place to bring it in and you have good bright light in a corner, you could treat it as a house plant for the winter. It may decline over the course of the winter some and look kind of funky, and you think you're going to lose it, but by the time you can get it back out in the spring, they're very fast growing. It'll need to go in a bigger pot, in new soil, new fertilizer, that kind of thing. Okay, the last one, I got a question about clay planting, and I have an old video on my channel about planting in the clay. And I always get concerned on these questions because people, when I read them, they're always like, I put this, this, and this into it. Don't overdo the thing, inputs into clay soils. Really, we would like to just use pine bark soil conditioner. That's number one. If you can find pine bark soil conditioner, which is just ground pine bark. When you pull a shrub out of a container, most likely you're going to see fine pine bark as the media that it was grown in. If you can find that material in a box store or garden center near you, that's the best thing to mix into the clay. Second would be some sort of compost. A chunkier compost would probably be better because we're just trying to create some drainage. The other thing that can happen when we're digging in clay soils, especially during wetter times, this is less likely if the soil's kind of dry, but when the soil's wet, when we dig a hole into the clay, we can seal off that when the shovel slides down in the wet clay, it can actually seal off the surrounding hole. You can see this. It's like doing work in pottery, where when that shovel slides in, it kind of cuts off the thing, and it almost creates a clay pot. If it's wetter when you're digging in the clay, you can go back with a fork around the edge of the hole and kind of break it up just a little bit after you've planted the plant, or let's say you dig the hole and then you come back in and kind of fork around the outside edges of the hole just a little bit, just to reopen those pores in the soil that the smooth shovel sealed off. I hope that makes sense. But when you dig a hole in clay with a shovel that's smooth on the back, when that shovel slides in, it actually closes up all the air pockets and all the the little places with the little holes in the oxygen and that kind of thing. And so when roots get to that, frequently they can start traveling around. They don't break into that. So in wetter conditions in the clay, you can go back around and just rough the edges of that hole back up. That's what I'm trying to say. And then that will allow, when the roots get to the edge of that hole, for them to get into that, to go directly into it rather than starting to wrap in a circle inside the hole. Another long answer from Jim. So the 2 winners from Instagram, I went ahead and drew those. The question and answer video next week is the Subscriber Sunday video with the photos. The next one after that will be question and answer. If you have any questions, you can ask ask them in the description of this video, under the description of this video, in the comment section. And 2 weeks from now is when the question and answer video will come back around. So ask away. The 2 winners from Instagram are TTravis004 and K Barnack. Okay, those are the 2 winners from Instagram. If you'll send me an email to this email address right here, and send me your address, I will get those. Oh, actually, I just need your email address for this to get you a code for the gift card from plantsbymail.com. Thanks very much to plantsbymail.com for doing these gift cards, these 4 $50 gift cards. And I'll show you real quick how I picked the 2 winners from YouTube and how I picked them from Instagram. Thank you very much for watching this video. So this is the random comment picker. I just enter the video and it filters out duplicate comments. Then I get the comments, and then over here hit start, and it randomly picks someone from. Then the first winner is Carolyn Imboden. Okay, and then I'm going to pick another winner right here. Hit start, and the second winner from YouTube is Jenny Carney. So again, if you'll send me an email to the HortTube@gmail.com address, I will get those codes to you from Plants by Mail. Thanks everyone for watching.